Well, here we are offering you the, February edition already. Where did that time go? Your u3a podcast. It's the 47th one, and remember, it's only my second. So I did survive, didn't I? It's Maggie West here as your host, your presenter. I'm back for more and delighted that you've chosen to join me again. We've got a precious 30 minutes together, and I have so much that I want to introduce you to. This year, of course, is a really important year because it celebrates, 80 years now since the end of our Second World War. And how we preserve some of those memories is through war memorials. So we'll hear about a project about gathering information, and it's really interesting how you can help with gathering that information. And you'll even find out some of these war memorials date back an awful long time.
We do have a memorial that's in a church, which is actually graffiti. The inscription in Latin reads, "In memory of my father who died at the Battle of Agincourt." It must be from 1415 to most probably 1450.
Then we'll have a look at more recent history. You'll learn a little bit about East End of London, and it's about tours and talks, and it features the Master of Suspense. And I'm going to leave you to think about, listen to this, and you'll soon find out who it is.
The first tour is called Walking in the Footsteps of Hitchcock, where you go round Leytonstone and I take you to the greengrocers, which is not there no more, but that's where he was born in 1899, and that's where the legend, took off,
Now, change the subject totally. How many of you love gemstones? Who doesn't? Mine is opal, because it's my birthstone. You'll learn about rare and precious stones, and it may even help you decide. Perhaps you fancy investing in one. Or I'll tell you what, guess what's around the corner? Valentine's Day.
And there are gemstones for every budget. So just because you think that you would, for example, like a yellow diamond, but you can't afford a yellow diamond, you can have a yellow chrysoberyl or a golden beryl. There are lots and lots of different gemstones which are available.
And to end our episode this month, we want to tempt those of you who already love dancing. And please include me in that, because I'll dance at any opportunity I get. But we also want to encourage some newbies to take up some dancing. And this time around, it's dancing with a difference.
One of the things about Scottish country dancing is that there is no age barrier. Anyone can do it. And it's just such a fun thing to do.
Well, in every town and every village, probably, your own included, I'm sure, you'll have a war memorial. And of course, it's in remembrance of those who died fighting wars and to help us with being free, the freedom that we enjoy today. But did you know there's no central authority who actually records these war memorials? And it's really just various groups of people who've got an interest, and it's been established over the years. To shed some light on this, let's explore the role of the Imperial War Museum in this, as well as getting to learn a wee bit about some of the older memorials around the UK. And how you and me, as u3a members, can get involved in helping to document these really important pieces of history. Our reporter Joanne Watson has been speaking to the manager of the museum, and they've got a digital volunteering project. His name is Callum Brogan. We wanted to find out a little bit more, but she started off by just asking him, well, how many memorials are there?
That's a really difficult question to answer because there's never been a central authority for the erection or maintenance of war memorials. So as a result, the IWM actually holds the most comprehensive record, but we only began researching this in 1989. So even our own records are actually quite incomplete. We currently record over 100,000 war memorials on our website. And although that might sound like a really big number, actually it's important to remember the scale of loss in particularly the First and the Second World Wars. So although we think of stone crosses on village greens in our villages, actually there are memorials all over the place, whether that's tiny altar cups commemorating single individuals through to large buildings. So the Imperial War Museum in London itself is a dedicated war memorial. The official estimate is around about 110,000 in the UK, but there's likely to be far more than that. Our volunteers are still adding around about 200 new records every month to our database. So as we head towards the centenary of the Second World War, there's still lots and lots of war memorials out there for us to discover.
Do we know what the oldest war memorial is?
We do have a memorial that's in a church, which is actually graffiti. The inscription in Latin reads, "In memory of my father who died at the Battle of Agincourt." It must be from 1415 to at most probably 1450. Not that long ago, the church it's actually in did some renovation work, and they knocked down a kind of archway around the entrance to the church and discovered this graffiti which had been covered up by a wall. Obviously now it's covered in perspex. There's a really nice explanation about what you can actually see. And it's just a fantastic example of what you occasionally come across doing this work. But we've also got stone plinth at what used to be a ford in the Thames in Brentford. And there are 3 inscriptions on there commemorating 3 different conflicts. The first one relates to where Julius Caesar crossed the Thames in 54 BC. The second inscription on there relates to Edmund Ironside and the battle that was fought there against Canute and the Vikings. And the third inscription relates to a Civil War battle in Brentford. Obviously, the first commemoration is of 54 BC. It certainly is more modern than that.
Now, if someone knows a memorial in their area but wants to check that it is registered, can they just literally look up at the register and see what it was or if it is?
Yeah, so you can go to our website and there is a keyword search there for memorials. So you can search by things like location, employment names, that sort of thing. And there are lots and lots of filters on there as well, which will help you because, as an example, just within Greater London, there's around about 7,500 war memorials. Even if you have a rough idea of what you're looking for, you might need a little bit of help. You can also use our website to search by names. So if you're looking for a particular individual, if you're, for example, doing some family history research, we do record 1.6 million names.
Grief, that's an awful lot, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And in essence, you're looking for photos to be submitted. Is this because your register has maybe got place names but not photos, or maybe needs newer photos?
There's actually a number of reasons that we ask for photographs. We began this project back in 1989. At that point, a lot of photographs were taken on kind of analog cameras where you had to then go up to your local pharmacy, get them printed out. They're not the highest quality photos simply because 35 years ago, the technology wasn't like it is now. And equally, those photographs, whilst they're fantastic for our kind of reference, are not brilliant when we scan them and then try to upload them to a website. Memorials have been changed quite a lot. So that might be First World War centenary. So there was a lot of research done. Memorials were changed, added to. In some cases, new memorials erected that weren't there previously. So that might be a change of location. For example, you might have a memorial that was in a rural school, and that school is now closed down. And that memorial is moved to a local study archive or a local museum or the local parish church. So obviously that change of location means that we're looking for not just a new photograph, but actually new location details and new details about perhaps the commemorations being changed, or perhaps the style or mounting of the memorial itself has been changed. So whilst we are adding new records to our database every month, we actually make about 2,000 updates to existing records on our website as well, for all of those reasons above. That's really why we ask for photographs. But the other reason is because it's very easy. Everybody now carries a camera on their phone. The simple act of being aware of your surroundings whilst you're out and about and going, oh, I wonder what that plaque is. I've walked past that every day for the last 5 years. I'd recommend just going and having a look. And if it's something that might be of interest to us, snap a quick photograph and email it in to us. And it really is that simple. And it's a massive help for us.
Well, that was Callum Brogan of the Imperial War Museum talking to our very own Joanne Watson. War memorials tell countless stories of sacrifice and remembrance, so it's vital that we help preserve them for our future generation, don't you think? So remember, if you do happen to spot one, maybe locally where you are, or maybe when you're out and about on your travels, take a picture just on your phone and send it up to the Imperial War Museum so that they can check it out and document it if necessary. It's really easy as well. They'll guide you through how to send that picture in case you're worried about technically what to do. And you can find out a bit more about this by looking on our very own u3a website as well. So let's all do our own bit to help. Now, totally different subject. Do you remember the 1960s? And there was a movie that came out that frightened the living daylights out of me. And it was very, very different. And it was called Psycho. Any of you remember that? I'm sure you will. Martin Levin, one of our reporters, caught up with Gary Lewis, and he's the founder of Hitchcock Talks and Tours. He's passionate about this particular topic and also about the East End in general. Of course, Hitchcock was known as the master of suspense, and he also did other films. You may well remember Vertigo, and the one that's before that, I think in the 1950s, was Rear Window. It really shaped the genre of suspense movies for years to come, right up until today. So let's dive into his legacy and find out what really makes Gary's story really timeless.
And anybody here at the moment is...
Gary Lewis.
Of?
Hitchcock Talks and Tours.
And how long have you been doing that?
7 years. 7 years, yeah. First time I did a talk for the Hitchcock Society, I joined the Alfred Hitchcock and Leytonstone Society in 2016, and I did my first talk, which you heard last April, Hitchcock's Leytonstone, in 2018 at the Birds Pub. And then I broke away from the Hitchcock Society in 2019 and formed my own business in 2020, which is now called Hitchcock Talks and Tours.
Do you do this full time then?
As full time as it can be. As at the moment, I've got 26 bookings for this year. Haven't got any tours lined up at the moment. Been on BBC Radio 5 Live. That was about 18 months ago. Guest to Colin Murray. And I've been on BBC Radio Essex.
So you've been travelling around?
Travelling around. I mean, when I first did these talks on Alfred Hitchcock, and I don't do just Alfred Hitchcock, I do East End history as well. I've got one coming up soon called The Famous Plaques of the East End, talking about Jimi Hendrix, Johnny Dankworth, Beryl Swain, George Edwards, the man who invented or designed Concorde. So I started off with 2 tours. The first tour is called Walking in the Footsteps of Hitchcock, where you go round Leytonstone and I take you to the Greengrocers, which is not there no more, but that's where he was born in 1899, and that's where the legend, took off, and I've got another one called The Graveyard Shift, so that's going round St Patrick's, last victim of Jack the Ripper, Mary Kelly.
I was going to ask you if you're going to do Jack the Ripper as well, yeah?
Well, Jack the Ripper, you've got so many people doing Jack the Ripper that it gets boring,
Yeah.
And I want to get people away from the idea that the East End is just Jack the Ripper and the craze. There's so much more.
You doing the Cable Street riots?
No, I think there's other people covering that,
Yeah.
I mean, the present one that I'm working on, that I'm going to do for the first time on Thursday for the Ilford Towns Women's Guild, it's called The London That Nobody Knows.
That's more like it. Yeah.
So I'm going to be covering Sarah Chapman, the woman that led out the Metro Girls Workers' Strike on the 2nd of July 1888, over working conditions there. Also, I'm going to be talking about the Castle Cinema in Hackney. It opened on the 16th of September 1913 as the Castle Electric Theatre. Closed in 1958, showed the Sad Sack Jerry Lewis film. 60 years, come back full circle. It's now reopened as a Castle Cinema again. Gosh. 2 screens. One of them has got 80 seats. I did 2 Hitchcock screenings there last year. North by Northwest for Happy Birthday Hitch when he was 125. And we showed
if he'd have made it.
If he had made it. And The Lady Vanishes, we showed 2 screenings to celebrate the 86th anniversary. As we speak now, in April, we're going to be showing Psycho at 65, 2 screenings of Psycho in April. Happy Birthday Hitch again, this time 2 screenings of The Birds. Hitch October, where we're going to be celebrating To Catch a Thief, Cary Grant, and Merry Hitchmas, we're going to be showing Spellbound.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot keeping me busy. That particular talk, I said, is like, did you know that Upton Park where West Ham used to play, although they vacated the plot, vacated the stadium back in 2016, the centre circle from the pitch is still there.
Never.
The pitch, and the supporters club on Castle Street is still there. They're being used as a gym. The Bowling Tavern is still there with the Avenue of Memories, and the Bobby Moore statue is still there.
Brilliant, yeah.
There's also, like, I covered the Old Spotted Dog pub in Forest Gate, closed down in 2004, lying derelict. It was one of 25 pubs in Forest Gate in 1991. Now there's only 5. So that is currently awaiting new management. Apparently somebody's bought it. But the Holly Tree pub further down the road at Dames Road got a new owner, Robert Stewart, back in October 2019. And what makes this pub unique is there's a miniature railway running in the beer garden. Available 1 till 4 p.m. Saturday and Sunday, adults, children alike. So that's just some of the things I talk about in the London That Nobody Knows, my brand new talk.
You have a wealth of experience. What's your booking details if people want to contact you?
If they want to contact me, you can contact me on my mobile phone number, which is 0778 938 17759, or alternately, you can go onto my website, Hitchcock Talks and Tours, and all the booking details are there for my tours, to hire me for my talks. As I say, I've got 11 talks now. So as it stands at the moment, I have a busy year ahead, 26 bookings, 5 film screenings. I've got another one at the Good Shepherd Studios in Leytonstone coming up 19th of June to celebrate the 74th anniversary of Strangers on a Train. And as it stands at the moment, I'm talking to a lady today after this meeting about raising funds for the South Chingford Community Library. So, yeah, it's a full life.
Gary, you're so busy. Pleasure to meet you. I'm sorry it's been such a long time to catch up with you.
No worries.
Thanks to Martin Levin and Gary Lewis of Hitchcock Talks and Tours for sharing his incredible journey and the variety of talks and tours that he offers. Anything from Hitchcock's Leytonstone to the hidden gems of East London. Now, he's very keen to point out, isn't he, that the East End is not just about Jack the Ripper and the Cray twins, because that's what I used to think. And I don't know about you, but I'm very intrigued to find out a bit more about the pub that's got a miniature railway inside, so I'll be investigating that. Okay, so you've got Gary's number now, or visit his website, Hitchcock Talks and Tours, if you're interested in booking him. Maybe if you're down this way in London, that's something that you could put on your to-do list, or perhaps even book him to come along to one of your u3a local meetings. You'll find everything you need on his website. Now, let's dive into the world of sparkling gemstones. I want to introduce you to Helen Plum. She's a highly experienced gemmologist. I wasn't even sure what that was until I listened to this article. She's turned a childhood fascination into a real career. She doesn't come from a family of gemmologists, which is usually the only way to get into this type of trade, but she got there with her own efforts and her own passion for gemstones. From prizing stones out of her mother's costume jewellery, would you believe, when she was a young child, and now she has a multi-million-pound collection of rare and stunning gemstones. Helen's journey is as brilliant as the gems that she works with. Maggie D spoke to Helen to find out more about her story, and she gleaned some insider tips for choosing and appreciating the perfect gemstones.
You are a gem specialist, a gemmologist. How did you get into doing that?
I've always loved gemstones. I started my career at the tender age of 5 when my mother found me prizing the rhinestones out of her costume jewellery because I was fascinated by their colour and their sparkle. And I went into collecting minerals and fossils as a child. And then I studied geology at school at a basic level, and then went to university and studied geology. I'd only really ever wanted to work with rocks and minerals. And when I graduated, I went to work in the oil industry. But in my spare time, I studied for the Gemmological Association qualifications. And one day I was giving a presentation to another oil company, and the presentation was interrupted by the receptionist who came in and said there was a man hoping to speak to me in the lobby. So my boss stopped the meeting just for a coffee break, and he said, "You better go and deal with this chap because he doesn't want to go." So I went downstairs, and it was actually somebody who'd heard that I would sell him a gemstone. So I sold him a gemstone, came back upstairs, and the geophysicist I was working with said, "Have you just sold a diamond to an Aberdonian in the car park?" I said, "Yes." He said, "What are you doing working for this shower then?" So I thought, right, I'll take the plunge. I'd worked in the industry for years, probably 30 years. And then I thought, right, I'm going to do what I've always wanted to do. And I did love my job, but I really wanted to work with gemstones because they were pretty.
So you've now got a shop.
Yes,
and
in Winchcombe.
You actually create the jewellery. Person chooses the gem and you create the jewellery to go with it.
Yes, I have a huge selection of gemstones. I have a multi-million-pound selection of gemstones in my shop with very high security. And I have gemstones that most jewellers will never see in their entire careers.
Wow.
So if anybody comes to see me, I can offer them immediately a range of wonderful gemstones to choose from. And often people come thinking they'll want, for example, a pink sapphire, but then they'll see a lovely pink spinel or a pink tourmaline. And there are gemstones for every budget. So just because you think that you would, for example, like a yellow diamond, but you can't afford a yellow diamond, you can have a yellow chrysoberyl or a golden beryl. There are lots and lots of different gemstones which are available, and I have them all in my shop, which is very unusual because most jewellers have to borrow some and get them in, and they'll maybe show you half a dozen. You can come and look at my gemstones and see thousands.
Wow.
And sometimes the person will choose something completely different from what they've thought about.
Yeah. And some of these names you've been saying are completely new to me. But, you know, on the hierarchy of like the most expensive or the most precious, shall we say, going down, say, a rung of 6, what would that hierarchy be?
In my shop, probably the most valuable gemstone I have available for sale is a Paraíba tourmaline. These are neon turquoise tourmalines. They're called Cuprian elbaite tourmaline, and they come from the state of Paraíba in the northeast of Brazil. They're exceptionally rare, and the production's almost all sold before it even comes out of the ground. I have beautiful lipstick sunset pink tourmalines and spinels, which are very sought after. We sell alexandrite, which is a very rare stone. It changes colour depending on the wavelength of the light you view it in. So if you're outside on a sunny day, it will look teal colour. If you're sitting inside in incandescent light, it will look an amethyst purple colour.
Is it better to set gems in silver? Do they show better in silver than gold? Right,
so
yeah.
I would only set a valuable gemstone. So when I say a valuable gemstone, something that's more than about £500 in value,
right.
I would only set it in gold. That can be white gold, rose gold or yellow gold, or in platinum or palladium. Silver is quite a soft, it's a lovely colour, silver. It's a very attractive colour, and silver makes beautiful jewellery. But the claws, because silver isn't a very strong metal, you can really only set gemstones in a rub-over setting in silver where the metal goes all the way around the stone, because silver claws break and are brittle. And so silver is a lovely colour, but to get around the issue of colour with gold, people make white gold, which is a yellow coloured metal underneath, but they rhodium plate it to make it look silvery. And there are lots of different coatings you can coat gold with to make it look a silver colour.
What would anybody who owns some gems, whatever they might be, what sort of things should they watch out for in relation to how they might look in them when wearing
when
them?
they're wearing the gemstones?
Yes.
I always think you get people who talk about crystal healing, and so they feel that there's something that they should have because it'll be good for them. My view is if it makes you look good, then it's got to be good for you. So I think it's very important to choose colours that are sympathetic with your complexion, your hair, your eye colour, your lip colour, because then you'll be able to wear it a lot more often. So you have to choose a colour that suits your complexion, because then you'll be able to wear it with a lot of different things, and then you'll get maximum value out of it. Pearls are a case in point, because lots of people think that, white pearls will look good on them. But I find that pearls, when they're too white and light, actually make your teeth and eye colour look rather yellow.
Gosh.
Make your teeth look stained. Whereas if you choose a colour that is more sympathetic with your skin tone, which can be a little bit darker colour, it can actually have the reverse effect and make your teeth and eyeballs look whiter. So it's very flattering. They always say with pearls that a lovely string of pearls has the same rejuvenation effect as a facelift. A nice string of pearls, because pearls have come down in value in real terms dramatically in the last 30 or 40 years. Most gemstones have gone up in value in that period, but pearls have decreased in cost over that period quite alarmingly. So if you'd had a lovely string of pearls that you'd been bought in the 1980s, you'd probably be dismayed to discover it would cost you the modern equivalent of a tenth of the price to buy the same string of pearls now. So you can have a string of pearls to go with every outfit, but it's obviously more cost effective to choose a string of pearls that go with you. And I would say a top quality string of pearls, really you're only looking at between £400 and £1,000. You certainly don't need to pay any more than that for a string of pearls, which is good value, because relatively inexpensive Japanese cultured pearls were being sold for £200 to £400 when I was a girl in the 1980s, because I remember looking for a string for my 21st birthday and my dad saying he couldn't afford to buy them for me. But now I can buy something that looks much lovelier than was available then for, a relatively modest amount. So if you like pearls, now's a good time to buy them.
Brilliant interview. Maggie D talking to Helen Plum, sharing her inspiring journey and her deep knowledge about gemstones. Very impressive. Now, if you're as captivated as I was by her passion and expertise, perhaps it's time for you to explore a little bit about gemstones for yourself, and maybe even see if you can invest in one, or maybe buy one for someone who's very special. Now, we love to bring you some variety on our podcast, and we've delivered this time as well. We want to introduce you to an activity that will do you the world of good. So listen up. You'll really enjoy hearing a bit about this. Here's what it's going to promise you. It'll boost your fitness, sharpens your mind, and let's face it, I don't know about you, but we could all do a little bit more of that. Coordination, yes, we'll certainly work on that, as dancing often does, and it'll strengthen your bones and support your mental health. Yes, please. It sounds absolutely up my street, and I hope yours as well. And as if that's not enough, apparently, I'm told, it's a lot of fun as well. Well, there's one activity that does tick all of those boxes, and would you believe it's Scottish country dancing? And in this episode, Bob Wells catches up with Rosie Dixon. He caught up with Rosie Dixon from Dorchester u3a to find out more. Really wanted to know, what's the appeal and why do so many people love doing it?
Please can you explain what Scottish country dancing is and how it evolved?
Okay. Yes, so Scottish dancing is a form of traditional folk dance, and it originated in Scotland. It's characterised by lively rhythmical steps and social group formation, and it's often performed in sets of couples or groups. From the Highland dancing, which is more individual and typically involves solo performances. So it dates back from the 17th century and even earlier than that, actually. And it evolved from older forms of European folk dancing influenced by English and French styles. In the 18th and 19th century, it became more formalised, resulting in a unique blend of amazing music and precise, intricate footwork. And over the years, an eye-watering number of dances have been created. And apparently, currently, there are more than 15,000 Scottish country dances documented. So a lot of dances to remember. Yeah. After the First World War, people became interested in both recording these traditional dances so that they weren't lost, and also teaching them. So 1923 saw the formation of the Scottish Country Dancing Society, and with huge support and interest shown by the royal family, it became the Royal Scottish Country Dance Society, or the RSCDS. This resulted in the standardisation of Scottish country dancing throughout the world, ensuring organised events and global communities maintained historical traditions.
And Rosie, what inspired you to sort of get into Scottish country dancing?
My husband and I, we were on a holiday in Glencoe, and it was New Year, and we were dragged up onto the dance floor for our very first ceilidh, and we were absolutely horrified. That was not us. We just didn't do dancing. Anyway, we got up and gave it a go and absolutely loved it. So when we came home from our holiday to Dorset, we thought, well, I wonder whether you can do any Scottish dancing in this neck of the woods. So we had a look around, and actually u3a had two classes, one in Weymouth and one in Dorchester. So we were spoiled for choice. And that's where it all started, just from a ceilidh in Scotland.
Rosie, how many people are typically involved in the dance? And also, can it be done by solo, or do you definitely need a partner?
Okay, so typically Scottish dancing involves 3 to 5 couples, and they dance mainly in a long wise set, a square set, or round the room. It can't be performed by one person. You need a minimum of three couples or 6 people in order to do a 3-couple set. And basically what a 3-couple set dance is that it's repeated 3 times in order that each couple gets an opportunity to be the first couple in the dance as it progresses.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but you can have 3-couple sets, 4-couple sets, 5-couple sets. And
do the couples stay as partners, or do you sort of exchange partners?
Well, that's interesting, really. I mean, you start off with one partner, but you kind of momentarily can end up with another. So you kind of move around the floor, but always end up with your same partner, hopefully.
and if you go out, I presume this is done in the evening, is it?
It can be, classes are during the day or the evening. So, whatever the club advocates. But I think kind of it tends to be, certainly in our clubs, older generation people, and they're not that keen on driving at night. So in a way, daytime classes are better.
And how long is a typical class?
So a typical class would be a couple of hours, probably.
Oh, right.
A break, yes. So it's quite a long workout.
Tell us about the group of dancers that you belong to.
We've been a member of the Dorchester u3a group for 3 years now, and we absolutely love it. We meet every Tuesday, and there's probably about between 15 and 25 people each session. And the class starts off with with some stretching and a very simple warm-up dance. And then we do step practice, and that's essential and includes mastering basic steps. And they are different depending on the tempo of the dance that you're doing. So the formations are what make up a dance, and they vary in number and difficulty depending on which dance is being taught. And from there, we will gradually build up, putting a dance together until we finally dance it all the way through. It's great fun. We have a lot of laughs. It's a great test of both your memory and coordination, both of which are known for helping to improve cognitive function, which is an added bonus. And the feeling when the group actually perform a dance perfectly is absolutely amazing. It's a wonderful feeling, and there's smiles all around, high fives, and it really does lift morale. It's a lovely, lovely feeling when you get a dance right all the way through.
Yes, it really sounds like fun. I mean, you're obviously getting a lot of physical exercise, and you mentioned there about the the cognitive memory and stimulating your brain. It sounds like great fun. Is it quite complicated?
Yeah, I mean, it is. There's an awful lot to learn. I know when we first started Scottish country dancing, it was like a foreign language. There are a lot of, there's formations called Allemande and a poussette and a petronella. They're all, you kind of think, oh my goodness, where's this going? And the step work is quite intricate, quite precise, and quite demanding as well. It's quite physical. It's hard work, and it takes a long time to get your head around the basic steps. But once you get the basic steps and you learn the formations and you can put it together, it certainly does get easier. But one of the big problems is memory, trying to remember the dances. You start a dance, you're ready to go, you know what you're going to do. The music starts and suddenly it's gone. You cannot remember how the dance starts. And it's such a horrible feeling when that happens.
What advice would you give perhaps to any listeners who may be interested in learning more about Scottish country dancing?
So have a look around and see what's available to you. U3a are brilliant actually for the Scottish dancing class, because everybody arrives, they've never done it before. It's, you know, they've looked through the little book and discovered the class, and you know, it's not something that people generally think about doing. So you all start together, you're all beginners, and that's quite nice. One of the things about Scottish country dancing is that there is no age barrier. You know, anyone can do it. And it's just such a fun thing to do.
I hope that's intrigued you enough to want to find out a little bit more for yourself and get yourself even more active. Really important for all of us. What a brilliant way as well, when you think about, you know, you can meet people, boost morale and get a real sense of achievement when you've actually achieved the coordination of some of those steps. You know what it's like. I've done line dancing and I know I get great joy when I get it right. Let's face it, though, as well. If it's good enough for our royal family, it's good enough for us, right? Perhaps there's a class near you. So as they say, keep dancing. Where have I heard that before? Well, here we are at the end of our programme again today. Where did that 30 minutes go? I've enjoyed presenting my second edition, and I hope you'll invite me for more. I'm getting sort of into the feel of it now. We've had a real variety, don't you think, this time around? Remember to honour the past wars. Keep an eye out for those memorials, and don't feel concerned about letting the Imperial War Museum know. Send them a picture. They'll really appreciate it. And remember, when you're next near London or you want to book Gary, his East End tours and talks, invite him to come and talk to your meetings as well. I'm sure he'd be delighted to. And remember, if you're feeling a bit flush and you want to splash the cash, there's some gemstones to be had there. And there was some lovely advice around pearls as well. So that would definitely be a welcome gift for someone. And then if none of those really appeal to you, you've always got to get yourself a little bit more active and get out there and find some Scottish country dancing. What a choice we've had from this week. Thanks to our guests. You know, they've taken the time to readily share their knowledge, their experience with us, and it's very much appreciated. And of course, where would we be without our reporters? Joanne Watson, thank you. Martin Levin, Maggie D, and of course, Bob Wells. So thank you for all the effort you put in for those articles as well. And of course, Bob is a man who wears many hats, as he is our editor and our producer as well. So special thank you from me, Bob. This is me signing off for another month. It's been a pleasure having your company. So goodbye from Maggie West, and I look forward to seeing you in March.